In March 2025, President Trump signed an executive order establishing the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. For the first time, the United States government would treat Bitcoin as a national reserve asset, like gold. Crypto Twitter celebrated. Bitcoin briefly rallied. A year later, the reserve mostly exists on paper. Let's separate the symbolism from the substance. What the executive order actually does is limited. It declares that the United States will hold Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. It says any Bitcoin seized through criminal or civil forfeiture goes into that reserve instead of being auctioned off, which had been standard practice. And it indefinitely prohibits the sale of Bitcoin in the reserve. That part is actually happening. The Justice Department used to routinely auction seized Bitcoin to private buyers, often at significant discount to market value. That stopped. But here's what the order does not do. It does not authorize the federal government to actively buy Bitcoin. It only allows the government to keep what it already has, plus future seizures. The executive order asked Treasury to find budget-neutral ways to acquire more Bitcoin, meaning no new taxpayer money. After more than a year, no such mechanism has been implemented. So what's actually in the reserve? Estimates put U.S. government Bitcoin holdings between 300,000 and 330,000 Bitcoin. That's worth roughly $20 to $26 billion. Most came from past major seizures, including Silk Road and the Bitfinex hack. The United States is already the largest known state holder of Bitcoin in the world. To make this a meaningful strategic reserve, Congress would need to pass legislation. That's where the Bitcoin Act comes in. Originally introduced by Senator Cynthia Lummis, recently rebranded as the American Reserves Modernization Act, the bill would authorize the federal government to acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. That's about 5% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. The bill proposes 2 ways to fund those purchases without new spending. First, repricing the federal gold reserves. They're still valued on government books at $42.22 per ounce, a price set in 1973. Gold today trades around $4,000 per ounce. Repricing to fair market value would unlock hundreds of billions in paper assets that could be used to acquire Bitcoin. Second, dedicating $6 billion per year of Federal Reserve remittances from 2025 through 2029 for Bitcoin purchases. 1 year in, the legislation is stalled. The Senate Banking Committee is currently prioritizing the Clarity Act we covered separately. Lummis has announced she will not seek re-election. The best chance for passage, according to legislative insiders, is bundling it into the year-end defense authorization bill in December. So where does this leave us? The United States has a Bitcoin reserve. It contains the Bitcoin the government already had. It is not actively accumulating more. The legislation that would make it a real strategic asset, comparable to gold reserves, exists but is not advanced. The symbolic value is real. Bitcoin is, for the first time, formally recognized as a strategic asset by the world's largest economy. That's not nothing. But viewers expecting the United States to start buying Bitcoin at scale should know the actual policy machinery to do that does not yet exist. That's the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. We cover crypto on the days that actually matter, with explainers when it helps. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. We'll see you next time.